everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today is day 480 and 481. As you guys know, I only record the first walk and then I don't record the second one. Okay, so right now it is 10:26 a.m. Let's go ahead and get started. And I'll tell you guys right now, my topic for today, just to start off, I didn't write anything else, was things, or I should say are things that I am thankful for. And I'll tell you guys how I kind of got the idea for that in just a second for the topic for today, but let me get started. And I'm happy because today I'll actually be able to keep my book closed, because like I said, I literally have no other notes on that page. So I think, actually I can close it now that I think about it and just leave it closed. So let's get the incline going, and yesterday's speed was 2.3, so I'm going to attempt to get this thing to do that today. Okay, let's see here. Oh, and the incline's always 15. I just realized that you may have never seen any of my treadmill walk and talks. I know it's a pretty high incline, but I thought if I'm going to do it, I want to max it out, and I don't know if there's a treadmill that can incline any higher than that. To be honest with you, I probably wouldn't incline it that high if it went past 15. So I think that's a good level to be at for the incline. And 12 is not a bad one either. 5 obviously is a little easier to walk at. I've tried 5 before, but like I said, I'm trying to maximize my workout. Okay, so I'm already inclined there. And I was thinking I did want to actually take my notebook and put it over there, but I would have to move some stuff around. And so I'm just going to leave it here. So yesterday, my test was how fast could I safely pick up the speed on this. And this is about, I would have to say, as fast as I can do it. I try to give it a couple seconds in between, sometimes a little bit longer, especially when I get closer to the speed. Okay, that's 1.5. One 1.7. .9, which is where I start to get kind of nervous at. That was 2.2 and this is 2.3. Okay, so I think when I get closer to the 2s, I kind of start to hold my breath, and that's not good. You want to keep breathing while you're walking, obviously, or just in general, but I get really nervous. I don't think with the way this thing's acts that I'll ever be able to stop saying, that I don't trust it. I guess I don't think I've ever said that, but I always say I need to be careful. But honestly, I don't trust my treadmill, so I don't know if I've ever said that. But long story short, it came out the box not working, and so it's been a battle with this treadmill. Okay, so we're at 3 minutes and 50 seconds. So I do want to start off by saying that I have lost, let me say, I think I have to count for a second, about 4 to 5 pounds in a very short period of time, since the 18th, which was, I believe, last Thursday. Okay, I could be wrong, but I believe so. And so I'm excited about that. And I have to say that walking for 80 minutes a day, especially at this incline, I was expecting to lose somewhere in between 5 to 10 pounds a month anyway. So I'm happy about that. Hopefully this time I won't have that 10-pound weight gain that I had when I got toward the end of stopping my walk and talk instead of completing my challenge, which was a 2-year or a 730-day walk. And so, yeah, some days I wasn't able to walk. I started off walking in advance for those days. Then I stopped recording and it just went from there. Okay, so I know I pretty much told the story, but for anyone that's starting from this point on, that's what happened to my walk and talk. That's why I did not finish my challenge. Besides running out of topics and things like that. Okay, so I am interested to see how much weight I'll lose in 90 days. This is not a new challenge. I'm picking up where I left off. But I'm purposely at least walking for 80 minutes a day for the next 3 months. And I am happy that I'm doing 2 walks a day because I have some time coming up within the next 3 months where I won't be able to walk. So I won't say I'll be behind, but at this point, now that I think about it, I would actually have to say I'll still be ahead or kind of end up catching myself up and then getting ahead again when I come back. Okay, so let's see. I try to stay as positive as I can on my channel with any of my videos. So the first couple things that I'm going to say that I'm thankful for might sound like one of what my other walks have been. It's only been a few out of the 400 and like I said, 80 something days. I've had 2, maybe 3 where I called them my angry walk and talk. And I didn't vent the whole time, but I spent about 10 to 15 minutes just kind of getting some things off my chest. And so I realized, especially if you know me personally, you might think that that's what I'm doing, that I'm venting. And so I'm not. So if anyone takes this personally, this is not directed toward anybody. This is what I'm thankful for about my self-improvements. Okay, so we'll start with those and it'll go into other things. And all of it really, I guess, would be overall life improvements that I've made or we've made so far. Okay, so I realized a long time ago that I had to be the person to solve the issues that I'm going through. Even though I'm married now, I don't know why I feel the need to say again. So if you know me personally, like you've been married before, yes. And I would have to say that one, accountability is important for me to say, okay, I got myself into a situation, I need to get myself out. That saying where there's nothing wrong with asking for help, it is. And it's not that I was that type of person. As a matter of fact, most of the time, I won't give a percentage of it, just in case anyone kind of feels like my percentage is off. Don't come for me in the comments, especially if you don't know me, but if you do. If I were to say a percentage I think they'd like, no, it's lower. No. A lot of people that know me knows that I'm very helpful. And at times, it's been to a fault. So I've learned that the best way I can help other people is to not need their help. To get really creative with trying to solve my problems, thinking way, way outside the box, learning sometimes to stand outside the box. And maybe now that I'm older, that I'm in my 40s, maybe I've learned there is no such thing as thinking inside the box. You just think. There's a saying that I heard, think because you have them. And obviously that means that when you think, you have thoughts. So you have them, use them. There's nothing wrong with using it to your advantage if it's not hurting anyone else and if it's progress that needs to be made. So I am thankful that I've learned to, and I haven't completely, I would say 100% skilled this, or if we're gonna say nothing's perfect, so don't expect to get everything 100% right, I'll say 99.9. I would have to say, a lot of people say, don't say that, that's negative. But unfortunately for me, I'm a perfectionist. Did not know it at first. Got told that and was told that it was a good thing because that person, and I was young, early 20s, told me that she knew, it was an old teacher from college, that I would finish a task. I would see it all the way through from start to finish, and that I would pay very close attention to detail. As a matter of fact, the assignment that she gave to us, the reason why she gave me the job she gave me was for that very reason. And so I've learned to embrace it, even though I'm only human. And so the thing about that is sometimes you want things right now. And sometimes you have to wait, especially if there are other people involved. I mean, if you can take care of a situation right then and there, it's just easier if it's just you. So I looked out at the resources that were there besides working or having multiple jobs at one time. At one point I was working 7 days a week, and about 2 or 3 of those days was twice at both jobs. So I've done that, and I think I was doing Avon or something on the side. So I always had something that I was doing on the side at some point, even if I got down to one full-time job. So between that and then later on learning to save, because sometimes you have to get your budget to where you can save. So budgeting sometimes in the beginning doesn't always mean that you're going to be able to put something aside. And it is true, $1, $5, 25 cents, whatever you can start with is good. But I would have to say at one point in my life, I won't say it wasn't there to even do just that small amount, because something small can grow into something big in a good way. I just didn't do it consistently. So I'm thankful that I learned to be consistent. Of course, everything that I say I'm thankful for, and so in my self-improvement, I know I'm still working on. Okay, so I'm not saying that anything I've learned, I have it down packed, like to a T. Regardless of the fact that I'm very structured, there's still always a new way you can learn to do something, or how to perfect a skill that you already have. Okay, so like I said, I am thankful that I've gotten to the point to where, and I was always kind of like this anyway, where if I call, it's just to say hi to see how you're doing and not to ask for anything. I used to get quiet, and a lot of people say, I haven't heard from you in so long. What happened? And I would tell them I was handling business. So I became, even if I was asked, less open about my problems. Now, some of it is noticeable, like allergies, things like that. That's different. Okay, so I'm not talking about health-wise. I just mean on a personal level, especially financial, especially once I was working the 2 jobs. So I feel like I've gotten pretty, I would have to say, I don't know what word to use, clever at learning how to say, okay, this resource is there, that resource not an option, because maybe I don't meet the qualifications. It could be some type of assistance, financial, whatever. And so going into this situation, I would already know, I'm gonna qualify for this, I'm not gonna qualify for that. Didn't mean I didn't try, but I thought, you're gonna have to do something else. Okay, so I would have to say that eventually I learned about credit cards, and like many others, I practically almost ruined my credit. And so I'm thankful that I fixed that. I think I fixed it once, but it didn't stick. And so I thought, you're gonna need more money to do this. And you're also gonna have to try and keep yourself out of debt as much as possible. Rent, cell phone, things like that, those are everyday expenses, or monthly expenses. But that's where the budgeting came in. So I'm thankful eventually, even though it's kind of an on and off thing even now, that I, not to say we, because I'm married, like I said, I've gotten to the point to where just because the card is in the wallet doesn't mean there's something on it, which is good. And I think there's nothing wrong with paying all cash for stuff if you want to, but a light bulb came on one day, and I thought, you're gonna spend that money anyway. So, of course you have to be careful with your credit cards, especially now that you fix your credit, and it's a continuous fix. I know it fluctuates every month anyway, depending on when the companies report. But now, let's see if you can keep it to just what you would buy anyway. Every now and then, you're gonna want something, a shirt, a pair of shoes. Not a big deal, but I learned, set a goal, and yes, you'll have an everyday credit card if you have more than one, but I've gotten pretty good with the other ones. So if you choose to take that route to start having credit cards, of course you can't make them approve you, but if they do, then I am learning to utilize everything that comes along with it and to learn the different parts about the credit. The credit utilization, can never say that word right the first time. The debt to income ratio and things like that. The math behind it, how it's calculated, what mainly affects your credit and what doesn't affect it as much. And being able to use that to our advantage. And it's a skill. It is. It does take time. But I'm thankful that the one thing that I think is important for me to keep in my mind is you're going to spend it anyway. You're going to pay for that bill anyway. Okay. Now, is the money there, yes or no? There's a checklist. If the answer is yes, why am I not going to go for the points or miles or cash back? At that point, why would I use money from my bank account? And time. I think I spoke yesterday about timing, and it had to do with the other topic. It was a movie review that I did yesterday, and I talked about how their whole thing that they were doing overall, their overall goal was all about the timing. And so I'm thankful that I've learned that that is the case with just about everything that I do. And we know you can't get it back, right? So spend it wisely. And I'm still practicing. They say practice makes perfect. Keeping in mind there's a difference between spending time doing something and wasting time doing something. And then to kind of get out of my own way. If I don't want to, or if I say I'm not going to do that for whatever reason, I'm learning to stop and think, but with that, make things better or easier for us. And if the answer is yes, like I said, just bite down and do it. The longer you wait, I know the worse it's going to get. So I'm thankful that I learned that, and I'm still practicing on a daily basis to do that. Another thing is, I hit a moment at one point, I want to say at the beginning of this year or last year, where I was doing a walk and talk, and I think I mentioned that I realized that I have had every car that I've ever said I wanted. And then I thought, on one hand, you can beat yourself up and say, you could have did that sooner. Or you can notice the accomplishment and say, maybe it wasn't time for that yet. There's a couple of skills that you had to tie together in order to obtain that right, to get it, and to maintain it, to take care of it. And so you needed more knowledge, more wisdom to be able to handle something like that. And so I think that's what happened. Because once I got a car, I was never without one. And of course we know they break down, things happen. But I was like, wow, I've learned to just to be thankful, period, and say, to take notice to the accomplishment. It's not about patting myself on the back. I used to say that sometimes you have to pat yourself on the back. Don't look for it to come from someone else. But it's not even about that. It's either it was a goal or it wasn't. Look at your thought process, your mindset back then versus your mindset now. What has changed, what's similar, and then realize that if it had been a goal and not a want, which you're going to say, wouldn't it be the same thing? Well, so to speak, but it's for me how I look at it. Even the word I use. And I said, okay. Then now the question is, how do I do that? If I want it, how do I get it? And if I can make it fit into the need, because they do cross over, your needs, I'm thankful I learned, are your wants for the most part. And there's nothing wrong with that. You just have to be a go-getter and go get it. Go do it. Go earn it. And so I'm thankful that I learned not to earn what I say that I want, and to make it a goal. So I guess yes, it would be both words would be used, but to understand that there's nothing wrong with having that as a goal. Sometimes people will question, why do you want that? You don't need it. Nicely put, why are you worried about what I'm doing? I'm like, you really think about it. And I used to explain, well, if it's replacing something, like one car replaced the other, I need a car, don't I? But I'm thankful that I'm learning I don't have to do that. I don't have to explain myself. It makes sense. And it's obvious. Now, does that person, people have to know your plan? No. You learn very quickly. Some people will sabotage it. And so I said, okay, whoever is looking at the situation from outside looking in, they don't have to understand it. It was my goal, or our goal. And really, the craft and the skill behind it is where the fun is at. It's nice to accomplish something you say you're going to do. For me, personally, I like actually reaching the goal because I feel there's no reason to continue to talk about it and to not do it. So I'm thankful that I try to keep that mindset. So, yeah, the next thing that I'm thankful for is, I guess we'll knock this out of the way anyway because I didn't mention a car. So let's just say we have a new car. We figured out, of course, replace one with the other, like I said. But I'm thankful that in the midst of that, we learned about CarMax. Now, we knew about it. So far as I know I've never tried it. I don't think my husband ever had. I did do a quote from Carvana, and CarMax was higher. But I'm thankful that I learned, number one, if you like the deal that CarMax offers you, you have 1 week. If you wait past that week, your offer is going to go down somewhere between $1,500 to $1,000 less than just the week before. So the first time, knowing this, I'm going to be honest, we were a couple days late. We did the second offer expecting for it to be exactly the same, and it wasn't, and that's when we found that out. Big oops. The offer was good, it's just the first offer was better. So we learned not to do that. And I wasn't really wanting to replace it. But then I have learned, I'm thankful about this too, to, like I say, those people on the sidelines. It didn't have to make sense. The fact that it does, and they didn't really figure it out and think about it, and just come up with scenarios of different things that can happen to prepare. And I'm not saying I expect everything to go wrong. I just like to be prepared. Have a plan A, a plan B, and I know someone that says, the Captain Kirk. Like, you're probably like, what does that mean? And so if you've ever watched Star Trek, now that I try to say the Trek part right, I mess up the Star part. I don't know how, but now I get tongue-tied trying to say it the right way because it's not track, right? But it was said to me one time, have you ever noticed how he always has a backup plan that no one knew about on the team? I said, huh? No. I just watch it because I like futuristic shows. There were some lessons to be learned in it, yes. And I said, but I started off when I was very little, watching it back like when it was, I think, in black and white. And so never really crossed my mind until this person said this to me 2 to 3 years ago. And so I said, okay, going back to the CarMax thing, number one, it is the backup plan. If the car lot doesn't want to give you something that you think is fair for your car, hopefully the car you want, especially if you need it, right? That's one that crosses over into both categories. They overlap. Then I would say I personally would look at the offer. If possible, if I know for sure I'm gonna get rid of that car, I'll probably do CarMax first. We learned that as well, so I'm thankful for that. But you can do it the same day and say, I'll be right back. Because the minute you see that offer, you can either try to make the appointment online or call and see if they can make the appointment over the phone, or you might be able to walk in, do your deal, first car's gone, here comes second car. But yeah, so we had an incident, like I said, before I forget, where you would think someone else would think about this. One car wouldn't start, it was parked behind the other. And this is a while back. That key to that vehicle was not in my possession, and so the other one was sitting there. Now, could it have not started too? Yes, but when you realize what fits your life and what you do need, I am thankful I've learned not to let someone else tell me what I need or what we need. Just because on the outside in, it looks like it's just a want. And you need a car, right? So I'm thankful that, especially if I'm talking to the person in person, this is not funny, but it kind of is, my face gives me away. So I have tried to not make certain faces, but now I'm learning not to, and I'm thankful. Because in my mind, it's like, well, doesn't that make sense? And the answer might be no for this other person, but I'm thankful I'm learning not to explain why. So the new one that we have now, I really like it. And I'm gonna go ahead and say it because I feel the need to say it. Other people might say it's not necessary. You said they don't need to know. But it did not cost what people think. Get rid of one to get the other. And it doesn't have to be new. If it's in great condition with a reasonable amount of miles, then you might find the price is right for you. And so your plan is going to work. So that's basically what happened. And another thing is, back to the saving part, I'm thankful that I've learned that there, like I said, are ways to get creative. So let's just say you go to CarMax, and you should know this. If you don't, I'll put it out there. If you still owe something on the car, you have to, of course, pay that money when they buy the car from you that day. And the thought process is quick. Like I said, it makes sense. Let's say you still owe $12,000 and they're willing to buy it for $10,000. Well, hopefully you've learned, save, it adds up. Maybe, let's say you have two cars and you're like, you know what, I know, even though it doesn't make sense to anyone else, even if you're single, I know it makes sense for me to have two vehicles. For whatever reason. But right now, I need to get it down to one car payment or no car payment. Let's say one car is paid off. And let's say the other one isn't, the one you owe $12,000. Well, you may not want to, but if you can't think of anything else, I've learned, I'm thankful to learn this, to know this, I'd rather owe $2,000. Yep, sure would, especially if the other car has no payment. If I buy a car, I'm gonna give $2,000, they pay the $10,000, gone. No more car payments, no more car insurance in that car, no more registration. So I am thankful. Like I said, I have learned to look for the resources that are out there and to use those, and that people are not resources. There's businesses for those. And it makes me happy to know, because for me personally, it kind of takes a weight off my shoulders to know that if you do your research, there's other options out there. The next thing I'm thankful for is what I'm walking inside of. And also I'm gonna have to say, I'll add this in for my husband, because it wasn't that I didn't want to buy a house. He's owned some properties in the past, but I got to a point to where I was just renting apartments, and the fact that I wanted a house stopped being a main goal. This is before I met him. But the upside was no more rent. And I understood that. You know, I didn't want to, I learned, and I'm still learning, to not be that person that I just talked about. Well, why does that make sense? Because mortgages stay the same unless your property taxes go up. So far as I know, being a homeowner, that's the only thing that can increase your house payment is your property tax if it goes up, and sometimes it goes down. So I said, okay, I'm gonna take what I can learn from the buying process, a program that we went through, the Next Home program. I'm gonna take what I can learn from my husband, and I'm gonna look at the fact that even though I didn't want to be stuck making payments on something for 30 years, the overall reasoning made sense. A steady payment being due. And I already knew about bi-weekly payments, but some programs, some banks don't offer that. And basically it's where they take your house payment and they split it in half. So half of it's due in the beginning of the month, and the other half is due toward the end of the month. And it cuts your loan down to 15 years from 30, because the amount of payments count as well. So now you have two payments that you're making every month instead of one, but the house payment didn't go up. It just got split in half. So I'm thankful that I already knew other people that went through the process before I ever even met my husband, that I learned from. And even though the program for where we live, it didn't, I won't say the program didn't offer that. I would say I think it was like the type of loan it was. You can do it with that. But I'm happy that I kept that in mind just in case that was possible. And so I thought, okay, if you can do it for the type of loan you're getting, it could be 15 years. Then I found out, no, this specific one has to stay at 30. And so I also thought, you don't know, are you an outlook loan or not? You have no clue. And if you do, 15 to 30, the years that it would take is not the point. What's the whole goal? To have a steady payment due, to know what it's going to be every month. And having that understanding, I'm thankful for that. And so, of course, I agreed to go through the process. So I'm thankful now to have a house. Yes, it did take, because I think we've been here since 2017 in this one. My first home buying, never bought another one besides this one. But I'm thankful that I am a homeowner, because along the way, I already started to understand the significance. So I'm just thankful overall that I'm growing as a person. And also, I'm thankful that I have well, I would like to think, a pretty open mind. And so I don't block out a lot of stuff. But what I pick from to utilize to accomplish a goal is what I'm working on. So self-improvement, I'm thankful for that. And I'm thankful for the people that I have learned from along the way. There was several other people that I didn't mention, but they know who they are. And if you didn't think I was listening, then, or that if you thought I wasn't listening, I was. So if you see me doing anything now, you're thinking, you know, I told her that a long time ago. She's actually doing it. Good for her. Yes, I am. And I'm thankful for the sharp-mindedness of the people that I know. You learn that your circle gets small, sometimes smaller than that. But you also learn, at least for me personally, I learned that's okay. And I'm also thankful that this treadmill didn't stop because I don't feel like being flung off. But we're at 40 minutes, 16 seconds. And I don't know if I'm going to continue the topic tomorrow because the topic for tomorrow is going to be Christmas themed. But we're at 1.49 miles, 160 calories, and the belt just slipped. So I'm glad that when I pushed that stop button, it worked. If you don't know, this thing is known for not stopping when I push the button. It's not often, but it catches, well, that's why it kind of catches me off guard when it doesn't want to do that. So I am happy that it worked. So yes, overall, I am learning to just be thankful. And also, you know, I'll say this very quickly. Some people will say to you, be content with what you have. Don't be ungrateful. I had a thought today, and I know a word I want to use, so I don't know if I'm going to be using it correctly, so I won't use it. But I had a thought today. I call it aha moments, right? Another light bulb, bing, just kind of came on. And I thought, not that this needs to be explained to anybody, but it's not, if you, and this is me personally, reach for more and you set more goals for yourself. If I set more goals for myself, it's not that I'm not content and not thankful for what I have. There are other goals I want to reach. And I personally don't think there's anything wrong with having the things that you want and the things that you need. Like I said, sometimes it's a need anyway. And even the trips, those are a want and a need. You need time for yourself. And if you're like me, you want to go on those trips. And so even if that becomes more of a goal, and it's like, oh, wow, you guys are never home. Well, what's wrong with that? You know, for anyone that would say that it is, a lot of people say, I didn't say there's anything wrong with it. But if in the back of your mind, if you're thinking that, and that's not what you're saying, like to me or to my husband or to us when we're talking, well, what's wrong with wanting that? What's wrong with not just saying that you need that time for the trip, you need that vacation, you don't just want it, and then doing it, right? I mean, it's, I don't know, it's just, I say, if I'm going to ask somebody how they did something, I am thankful that I am learning not to ask how to do something if I'm not going to apply it to my life. Because if I say that I want to reach a goal, if I really want to reach it, I will do it. And I personally have a problem with unfinished business, like unfinished things, not completing things. So yeah, I'm thankful that for me personally, as my own personality, that is what I continue to work on a daily basis. Because there was no point in me asking if I wasn't, especially if it was something I was currently trying to do or am trying to do, then it's not right. I'm thankful that I'm learning it's not right to, I don't want to say waste that person's time, but, you know, because some people are happy to share the information with you, and we are those type of people. But the thing is that I have to realize that even if they don't feel that way, that I wasted their time, yes, I did. And I have to be able to own up to that. Accountability, I said, is important to me, right? And say, okay, they may not feel that way, but I'm going to feel bad. And so if I'm not going to take their advice, especially when I see that it works, then I'm going to have to figure out another way to do what I say I'm trying to accomplish. So I am thankful that I'm learning that other people's time is valuable. It's not just my time that's valuable. And also I am thankful that I just have people to spend time with, to do things with. I am thankful that I learned that time is important, but for me personally, it has to be with like-minded people. So even with down to the fun part, because once the planning and everything is out of the way and you get there for the trips, then you have to actually have the fun, right? You want to have the fun. So yeah, it's important that if the circle, or since it gets small anyway, that it's like-minded people that are inside that circle. And I have to stay on top of my business as well. I still have to, I don't want to say fit in, but they say birds of a feather flock together. It's just a natural thing that tends to happen. Even though there's the other saying, the opposites attract, usually they're talking about like relationships, right? But I would have to say sometimes maybe friendships, but more so relationships, like significant others. But so far as just people in general, that the other saying is you are the company that you keep. So it just ends up being a natural thing. And so I am thankful that I am learning that it has to be like minded people. It just has to be that way. And that there are people that are there. That's not a saying I want to say, but you've heard the saying, and I don't want people to think I think that. If I say it, they're gonna think I think that way, but I don't. Even though I do like my personal time, I do like spending time with people. Okay. Other people, you might look at somebody else and say, oh wow, like they have a lot. And I mean a lot, right? Even down to money. And then the thing about it is that, there is a saying, and I'll go ahead and say it, forget it. I'll go ahead and say it gets only at the top. And I'm going to tell you, for me personally, my personal goals I have for myself and my husband, that the sky's the limit. There is no top, actually. So I'm thankful that I'm learning that as well, that saying does have meaning. But I have learned to think past that, to change my mindset that, if I'm going to say the sky's the limit, there is no top. And so, yeah, that is what I am thankful for so far. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else I'm forgetting, just in case I don't continue this topic on till tomorrow, because like I said, I want to kind of Christmas base the thing tomorrow for the talk. I would have to say overall that I guess I have learned, like I said, to sum it up, to be thankful, but to not let other people tell me that I shouldn't want more, especially if it's a need. To be able to think, regardless of what someone else thinks, like I said, I'll just reiterate on this. It's just, if I use that word correctly, I think I did. I'm kind of tired. Right now I have another walk anyway to do. But just because you want more out of life doesn't mean you're not content and thankful and grateful for what you have. You just know that the sky's the limit and there really is no limitation. It's just how to do it. Can you maintain it? And what type of life do you want to have for yourself? Because ultimately, in the end, your life is your own. And really, the people that you will affect the most are, I would have to say, starting with people that you live with. And for me, it's my spouse. So the sky's the limit for us. And I'm thankful that I have an equally goal-oriented person. So yeah, I'm going to go, actually gonna top this water off, take a quick restroom break, and then I'm gonna come back and do my second walk. You guys have a great day. And if you want to share some things that you're thankful for, you don't have to get all personal, like really, really personal into any of your business or anything like that. But if it's just in general, I mean, a lot of us would say, I'm thankful just to be alive, right? Um, I would have to say, it's not that I'm not thankful for that. I'm thankful that I wake up and I try to make it purposeful. If I said that word right, that make it count, basically, every minute that I can. And of course, on the other side of that is to rest, right? Obviously, but I am learning that I am thankful that I have learned to make it count. Yeah. So there has to be a reason. And some people, they won't understand that, but that's just other people. Just my motivational message is that if it makes sense and if it's going to progress your life, it doesn't have to make sense to anyone else. And if you know like-minded people that you can learn from, for me personally, like I said, I'm thankful for that. So my motivational message is, it could be that you're the person that people come to. And if you're like me, you're like, look, I never said I knew everything. I'm not the smartest person in the world. I do a lot of research, even though it's boring. I'm really good at it. And so, it's just nice to know other people as I'm growing, that I see grow. I am thankful to see other people grow. If you know me, I love to see people just go after whatever it is they want and accomplish it. And I'm thankful to know people like that because it's inspiring. It keeps me going. So thank you for everyone that I said I was thankful for in my life, that you are the person that you are. It is inspiring to see you, like whether it's, wanting to have, let's say you want a vacation home, or if you want to have a house, you got it, or if you wanted a certain type of car, or if you wanted to go to a place you've never been, or if you wanted to kind of just do better self-care, if you wanted to start a business and you did, any goal that you set, if you've accomplished it, and I've been able to see, even if it's from afar, that you did it, I am thankful, because whether you know it or not, you encourage me and inspire me to be a better person. And so I'm super thankful for that. You guys have a great day. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.